Hi, welcome to LewTube for Wednesday, September the 8th, 2010. I'm your host, Lew MacDonald. Bank of Canada raised its prime lending rate this morning, stating that they're no longer in an emergency financial crisis and that we're trying to normalize our interest rates. With regards to the Bank of Canada rate, you've probably seen a couple of different numbers thrown around. You'll see this morning in the news releases that the Bank of Canada has raised its rate to 1%. The overnight rate or the key lending rate. You'll also hear me talk about things like prime has gone to 3%. What's the difference between these two numbers? In layman's terms, the 1% rate that we were talking about, or the overnight rate, that's what the bank borrows at. So they borrow at 1% and then they lend out at prime, which is 3%. Typically there's a 2% spread in that number. When we see your line of credit is at prime +1 typically. So what that means is that they're borrowing the money, they being the major lenders and banks, are borrowing at 1% and lending it to you at their prime +1%. So a spread of 3% or 3% profit there. When we look at the variable rate, variables right now typically 0.65 below prime, which means that there is they're bonusing the rate, or their profit margin is 1.35 on that. Doesn't sound like a lot in profit. However, when you take their numbers and the volume that they're sending through and the security of the investment, it turns into, if you look at the top 5 in the last quarter, all of them made over $900 million in the last quarter, meaning that about $10 million a day in profit. So you can see where that small amount really means a lot to them. In fixed rates, the bond rate has settled. It's not as volatile as we've seen over the last few weeks, and we're seeing the 5-year fixed kind of settling in. There's a 3.5 or 3.55 out there that is a no-frills, quick close rate, all the way up to 3.79. Those are assuming good credit and provable income. Self-employed mortgages are a little bit different, but still down in that same range. August sales statistics are out, and they're still down from August 2009, similar to July of 2009. This is great news for the first-time buyer. Last week there was a question regarding the price of the home that I used as an example in LewTube. So this week I'll start off by saying the home I'm going to use as an example is priced at $339,000. And a perfect example of what an average income family can buy. With decent credit and low debt, a couple both making $15.50 an hour can qualify for this home with 5% down. Your down payment can be a gift from mom and dad, borrowed from your RRSPs, cash, stocks, bonds, or even the sale of an asset such as a car or a boat. Let's work through the numbers. 5% down on a $339,000 purchase would be just under $17,000 in down payment. Closing cost would be about $1,000 for your lawyer's fees and about $4,780, that's $4,780 in property transfer tax. Now, if you haven't owned a home before, or if you've lived in BC for 12 months or more, you should be exempt from this tax. Call me to find out more information on that, or if you are or are not exempt. So let's assume that you do qualify for the exemption, being a first-time buyer, and you would need a total of about $18,000 cash at closing. With an APR interest rate of 3.79, fixed for 5 years, 35-year amortization, your monthly mortgage payment would be about $1,425. This is where the train goes off the track for many first-time home buyers. This all sounds really good, but this is really hard to explain to mom and dad who are typically involved in your purchase. So your question may be, this all sounds good, but how do I get this info to mom and dad? Well, first step is to forward this video to them. After they're seeing what you're seeing, then let's make an appointment. You can either call or email to set that up, and let's all of us, mom and dad included, sit down, go through the numbers so that you can know what you can afford, what you can't afford, how much you'll need in down payment, all of the details right there. That way you can go make an informed decision and shop for that home while prices are down and a lot of homeowners need to sell. This is the perfect time for the buyers to buy. That's it for this edition of LewTube. Call or email me with any questions, and remember, don't keep me a secret. Please forward this to any friends, family members that you think would appreciate it. Until next time, I'm your host, Lew MacDonald. Thank you.